Hello, and welcome to Getinweregoinghealing, a place where we talk about mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being to help you learn to let go of the things that are holding you back from being your best, your greatest, your most authentic you. My name is Tovah, and I will be your guide. So if you're watching this and not just listening to it, my nose is a little red. If you have kids, you know that they are the carriers of plague. And when they get sick, they share with those around them. That is what's happened to me as well. So if my throat sounds a little froggy or I take a pause to blow my nose, then you'll know why. Okay. But I really wanted to come on and talk about this because there has been... Again, if you've been following my show, if you're new, welcome. My name is Tovah. If you are returning, welcome back. So if you're new here, you might not know that on this show, I just notice what's going on in the collective and then I speak on it. And I allow things to be channeled. I allow information to come through. And I just share the best that I can, the most information that I can. Nothing fancy today, just a simple recording because this information I feel really needs to get out. So there's been no prep work. It's just sharing my reality and sharing what I'm hearing. So I like to watch the show Bluey with my child. If you're not familiar, if maybe you don't have kids or your kids are older and you've never watched it, Bluey is an Australian cartoon that teaches a lot of lessons to children about what they need. And it's really good with parents as well. A lot of good life lessons in that. So as my son and I were watching it last night, the episode we were watching was called Stickbird. And one of the things they did in the episode was use a technique to let go of big feelings. So that's what I want to tackle today is different techniques you can use when you have big feelings that you need to let go of, when we fall into our darkness. So the theme that I've been noticing lately, excuse me just a minute. The theme I've been noticing lately is a lot of darkness. Excuse me. My next meditation class is going to be on delving into your darkness, delving into the dark feminine, into the dark masculine. What does that mean? And what can you do about it? And the darkness is things like anger, frustration, sadness, despair, all of those heavy, heavy emotions. And when we get caught in them, sometimes it can be really hard for us to move through them. Ooh, getting chills as I say that. That is true for me as well. Sometimes when I get into these deep, dark emotions, I can really struggle to let go of them. I can end up sitting in them for much longer than they need to be. And I know that's true for those around me. I know that's true for many of the masculines in the collective as well, especially because they were more often taught that it was okay to express anger, but some of the other emotions are not so okay. Some of the things like shame and guilt and despair and sadness and depression and some of those other heavier things are usually not okay. But they're part of the human spectrum of emotions. All of them are part of human emotions. That means all of them are things that we all experience. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the things we can do to let go of these emotions when we're stuck in them. Some of the things that we can utilize to do that. And one of the best things that I can suggest is visualization. Visualization just in your mind, but also physical representations, which is what I'll explain from the Bluey episode, but also breath work. Your breath is your best, most amazing tool you have available to you. And let me go into a quick explanation as to why. Just a quick thing. If you've seen some of my episodes already, you might have already seen the episode on self-compassion and emotional regulation with Kristen Taylor. That would have been season 3, I think, of the show. Possibly season 2. I'm not sure where we're at for seasons now. I've actually stopped labeling them by the seasons because I just share the content now. Anyway, so with that episode with Kristen Taylor, we talked about recognizing emotions in the body. We talked about moving through them. We talked about polyvagal theory. We had an episode about polyvagal theory as well. Polyvagal theory means the vagus nerve, which is one of your 10 cranial nerves. That means the nerves that are inside your head, and they go down your spinal column, and they release from the plexus at your neck, the grouping at your neck, and then they branch out from the neck out into wherever they need to go, whether that's continuing down the spinal cord or branching out from the spaces in the neck, in the bones in the neck into like the face or the neck or the mouth or any of those things. So the vagus nerve, 12 cranial nerves, my mistake. 12 cranial nerves. Vagus nerve is the 10th cranial nerve. Its job is to regulate your heart rate. It regulates digestion. Let me think about it. Hold on. When I was in school, when I was a massage therapist in school, we had to take neurology, and we learned about the cranial nerves. That was one of our expectations to learn. And my friends and I used to remember the vagus nerve because it reminds us of Las Vegas. We would remember that it's in charge of making the heart beat really fast, because when you're feeling all kinds of lovey-dovey, your heart beats real fast. Butterflies in the stomach. So digestion. And what was the last one? My brain's not catching on. I can't remember. But the vagus nerve does even more than that. It affects your autonomic nervous system. So it affects the fight or flight mechanism. Okay. So when we get our vagus nerve activated, we find ourselves in fight or flight. Okay. So that's I need to fight, I need to run, I need to freeze, I need to fawn. So fawning is people pleasing, doing whatever it is you need to do to make the other person happy, just to make the discomfort, the abuse, whatever it is, stop. Freezing is where you just shut down and you're just there. There's no reaction. You're just there. You're observing, you're watching, you're avoiding movement. This would be like a prey behavior. When there is a predator, prey will freeze. Because if something is looking for motion and you stop moving and you freeze, then you're less noticed by the thing looking for motion. So those are our mechanisms when we are activated, when we are triggered, when we are experiencing high levels of stress. That's what our reactions are. We either want to fight to protect ourselves. We want to run away to avoid the sensation. We want to freeze to avoid being noticed and seen, to make ourselves a smaller target. Or we want to fawn. We want to people please. We want to create whatever it is we need to do to make the other person, the predator as we perceive it, to make us to be happy, so they won't try to attack us. So those are what happens when our vagus nerve is activated. So this can also mean when we are in fight or flight that our digestion is slowed because the vagus nerve is affected. And it's not important. If you're running from a bear, digesting your food is really not important. You need to get away from the bear. Being alive is more important than digesting your food. But the problem is our body doesn't recognize what that is. Our body doesn't realize we're not being chased by a bear. It doesn't realize that the bad day we've had, the difficulties we've had at work, the challenges we've had with our partner or our children or our friends or our parents, these things aren't real danger. They are stress, and high cortisol levels over time can cause a lot of damage to our bodies. But our brain does not realize we are not in immediate danger. It sends out those spikes of cortisol, which tells us, oh my gosh, I have to freeze, I have to fawn, I have to fight, I have to run, I have to, those things to protect myself. Now, the problem comes when we have those reactions and we don't know how to move through them to get ourselves back to that baseline. So breath work is directly related to the vagus nerve. Sorry, lungs. That's the other thing. The vagus nerve is lungs. I don't know why I didn't catch that up. It's so obvious. So our breathing, when we take breaths, when we slow our heartbeat, we take deep breaths, we can slow our heart rate down. And when we slow our heart rate down, that gives a signal to our body that we are no longer in danger. We no longer have to fight, flee, fawn, or freeze. We can do all of the regular stuff, right? But in order to do that, we have to get out of that mode. So deep breaths and focusing on the breath is an excellent way to do that. Now, what I want to share are tips from this fantastic book. This book is called Breathe Like a Bear by Kira Wiley. Okay. I found this book for my child when we were exploring different mindfulness techniques when we were homeschooling during the pandemic, and I had to come up with things to do. And I was on a lot of different mommy groups, and this book was highly recommended by a lot of parents. So I picked it up. And inside this book are 30 mindful exercises that you can use for children. But the great thing is these aren't just for kids. These are for everybody. These are all excellent tools to use. So I'm just going to break down a bit on what the categories are. So there's a section on being calm. There's a section on focus. There's a section on imagining things. There's a section on making some energy, and there's a section on relaxing. Okay. So, what we want to do at this point, if we're talking about getting out of fight or flight, what we want is things to be calm. Okay. So one of the things that I like the most, I will share one of my favorites, and then I'll share some of the others in the calm. One of my favorites is called hot chocolate breath. Okay, and this one's very simple. I love this one with my kid. Oh, excuse me, I gotta blow my nose again. Oh, excuse me. All right. So, one of the things, what you do is you imagine you've got a cup of hot cocoa. Okay, you've got your hands, you gotta make your hands into a cup, create a cup. Okay, so what you wanna do is you start off, you've got this cup of hot chocolate. Think about what it feels like in the winter. When you're nice and cold, you've been outside, you've been out in the cold elements, right? And now you want to warm up. So you get yourself a cup of hot cocoa. So you pour your cup and you bring it up and you go, and you smell it, because the smell of hot cocoa is amazing, especially when you're cold. That smell smells wonderful. So we smell it and we go to take a sip. Ooh, it's too hot. It's still too hot. I can't drink that. Okay, so what do you do when something's too hot? You blow on it, right? But we also know you have to blow gently. You can't go, right? If you blow on hot chocolate, it's going to come splashing back in your face. So what you do is you take your cup of hot chocolate and you smell it. It smells so good, but you want to cool it down, so you blow gently. Right across the top of it. Then we're going to do that 3 times, okay? We go. Maybe we check. Oh, still too hot. Check again. Oh, still too hot. Try again. It's perfect. Now we can drink our cup of hot chocolate, right? So what we're doing, yes, we're giving a visualization, but what we're doing is we're focusing on the inhale, long, deep inhale through the nose, and then a slow, deep exhale through the mouth. Now, when my child was in kindergarten, one of the things that his teachers recommended was the mountain. And they had each child go breathe in, stop at the top of the mountain, breathe out. Breathe in, stop at the top of the mountain, breathe out. Breathe in, stop at the top of the mountain, breathe out. Breathe in, stop at the top of the mountain, breathe out. Breathe in, stop at the top of the mountain, breathe out. Now, this is one of the things that they use to help the 4 and 5-year-olds regulate their emotions, which makes sense because when you're talking about kindergartners, they have a lot of very big emotions and not a lot of skill at calming them down. So this was something that we did a lot, was and so on, right? Excuse me. Hold on one second. Thank you for your patience. All right. So that's one of the things that we can do. There's also the candle. You breathe in and blow out the candle. Nice and slow, right? So those are things that we can use to calm ourselves. But then one of the other things that I was mentioning from the Bluey episode that I really, really liked, and I used this last night. I don't know about you, but the energy, these episodes are timeless. They happen. Whenever you come across it, it's the right time. But for me right now, whatever's going on in the energy, I can tell you that some of my dark stuff is coming up. Some of my big feelings, difficulty with staying calm, being just edgy old memories that were painful are coming up. Things that cause big feelings are coming up. And I'm just really struggling, especially when I'm dealing with my child and I'm not feeling my best. And he's just pushing. And I have to try to control my temper because I'm human. I get angry too. I want to be left alone. I want to be, if I'm not feeling well, I want to be left alone so I can rest. But as a parent, that doesn't work out. That's not how it works. Kids don't just leave you alone because you're not feeling well. They don't care. They just need whatever they need. And that's fine. That's what kids are like. But I found myself really struggling because my child was pushing all of my buttons. And it's not his fault. It's me being easily triggered. So I needed to try this technique on my own, and it truly did help. Okay, so let me explain what happened in the episode. In the episode, the youngest sister, Bingo, is struggling because she found a stick that looked like a bird's head, and she made a sand bird, and she left it to go play with her dad. And then some other kids came up, and they took the stick. And she was feeling really, really upset about someone taking the stick because they ruined Stick Bird, and she was having all these feelings and she couldn't let them go, and dad was trying to help her feel better, but she wasn't having it. She was big in the feelings. Her big sister, Bluey, comes over and says, I have an idea. So she says, what you do is you find those unhelpful feelings, those unhappy feelings, the anger, the despair, the sadness, the grief. Obviously, I didn't explain that, but I'm explaining that to you. All of these feelings, and you find it on your body, and you pluck it out, right? And you hold it in your hand. So Bluey recommended we're going to find some anger here and stick it in my hand. We're going to find some anger here in my neck, stick it in my hand. And there's always anger in the belly. There's always feelings in the belly. So we're going to pull that out too. Pull the feelings in the belly out. We're going to pull it out from wherever you feel it. Okay. Now, the wherever you feel it part, we're going to go into this in a second about where you feel the feelings in your body. But you're just going to try to notice where you feel the feelings in your body and just kind of grab it, just grab it and pull it off of you. Like it was like a burr on you or something. Just grab it and pull it off of you and stick it in your hand and compress it in your hand. Okay. Now that you've got it compressed in your hand, so Bingo says to Bluey, okay, I've got it all there. And then Bluey says, well, do you want to keep it? All those feelings, do you want to keep it? And this is important because this is something my doctor used with me when I was doing therapy. Intrafamily systems was the style I was using. And when she would ask me to have my parts pull stuff or dump stuff, whatever it is they wanted to get rid of, she would ask me to ask them if they wanted to keep it. Because that's the thing, is you have to decide if you're going to let it go or you're going to hold on to it. It's your choice whether you want to stay with those feelings or you want to let go of those feelings. It is always your choice. You don't have to do one or the other. If you're not ready to let them go, you don't have to. If you're not ready, if you want to keep them, you can keep them if you want to, or you can totally let them go. Whatever it is you're feeling is okay. If you're not ready to let go of the feelings because you still need to sit in it and process it, that's fine. You can do that. But if you're ready to let them go and you've got them tucked in your hands like this. So Bluey says to Bingo, do you want to keep them? And Bingo says, no, I don't. So if you're also like that, you don't want to let them go. The next thing is you ball them up real tight. Make them into something you can hold. Ball them up real tight. You're going to take it and you're going to throw it as far away from you as you can. They were at a body of water and they threw it into the river. You can do that too, or you can just throw it away, visualize yourself throwing it as far away, like a ball that you're chucking as far as you can. Just really throw it away. Get it as far away from you as you can. And you get rid of it. Now, here's the interesting thing. When I did that, I legitimately felt better. Truly and legitimately, I felt better. I felt the emotions go. I felt like I'd pulled them out. I took a deep breath. I felt emptier. I felt calmer. I didn't feel the tension and stress from all of the anger that I was sitting in my body. And it was gone. I took a deep breath. I noticed how much better I felt. And then I went back in to sit with my child, who I had maybe not been so nice to because I was having these big feelings. I wasn't as nice as I could have been. And I apologized for being a little more cranky than usual. And then we went on with our night. My child forgave me because children do forgive their parents. Oh, that's making me feel a little emotional. Children do forgive their parents, especially when they're young, because what they really want is love and connection. And when you can take ownership and say, hey, that was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. I was having big feelings. It's not your fault. I'm sorry. When you can do that, you can rebuild trust. That's the repair portion. It's okay if we mess up. It's okay if we get angry. It's okay if we do those things. That's just part of being human. We have our moments. The repair is the most important part. Now, I gave the example about repairing with my child, but this applies to your friends, this applies to your partner, this applies to your siblings, this applies to your parents, this applies to everybody, coworkers, everybody. When you lose your cool, and it happens, it's gonna happen. You're human. It's gonna happen. When you do, accountability and repair are the most important things. There's a channel that I watch that I absolutely love. If you haven't seen it and you like this sort of thing, I'd recommend it. It's called Cinema Therapy, and it's on YouTube. And it's just two people. One of them is a licensed therapist, and one of them is a director. And they look at movies, and they break down the psychological components of the movies. Usually the motivation of the characters, what they were doing, what was going on, what is good, what is bad, how you could have handled it differently, all those sort of things. And so Jonathan, who is the licensed therapist of the pair, he has what he calls an accountability kink, where he's got a big thing for accountability. He loves seeing people take accountability. Accountability means taking ownership of the part that we played, taking ownership of the mistakes we made, the actions we took, the words we said, all of those things. We take ownership of the things that we were responsible for. That does not mean we take ownership for somebody else's stuff. They're still responsible for their own things, okay? However they respond, however they act out, whatever it is they do, they're responsible for the choices that they make. But we are responsible for the choices that we make. And when we mess up, we need to take ownership of that and say, yeah, okay, I could have done better. That was my mistake. I messed up there. And take ownership and say, hey, I'm sorry. That wasn't your fault. That was me. Even if you did push me, it's still my responsibility to control my feelings and my actions and my emotions. And that wasn't your fault, and I'm sorry. I behaved in a way that was unacceptable. That was not okay, and I'm sorry. Those are really important. Those are really, really, really important within our relationships of all types, because it builds trust. It builds trust. It builds accountability. It lets the other person know that you're not blaming them for the stuff that you're going through. You're doing what you need to do. That's where boundaries come in. If you're dealing with another adult and they push your buttons, maybe your boundary needs to be that you need to take some space from them because they just trigger you too much and you're feeling some kind of way and you got to work through it. Set your boundaries. Boundaries are not meant to be a punishment. I've actually heard that a lot recently too. Boundaries are not meant to be a punishment. They are meant to be how you take care of yourself, how you protect yourself, how you stand up for yourself, but they're not meant to be used to punish another person. If you don't do this, I'm going to do this. This is control. Our purpose is not to control people. Our purpose is to say, hey, this is or is not all right with me. And I need you to speak to me in this way, or whatever it is, and set your limits, what is okay and what is not okay. It's not meant to control someone. It's meant to be clear about what is or is not okay with you and what you will or will not do should the behavior continue. It's not about making the other person conform to what you want them to do. It's about saying, so you can do whatever you like. You can do whatever you want. You could say whatever, you could do whatever. I'm not in control of you. You are in control of you. However, if this is something you feel is important to you and necessary for you, then I'm going to have to peace out. I'm going to have to not be around for that. But you can do whatever you want. If you want to continue that behavior, that's fine. It's your decision. It's up to you. But that's not okay with me. And I will not be around if that's the way it's going to be. That's a boundary. Okay? It's not a punishment. Now, that being said, remember I said I was going to cycle back to feeling the emotions in the body. Okay, so this is part of our noticing practice, right? This is part of when we begin to notice that we are building up an emotion, begin to recognize that we are. Now, what just popped into my head as I'm saying that, was an image of the old cartoons. You remember you used to see, like in Looney Tunes and stuff like that, when someone would get angry, you would see them start to turn red and you would see steam coming out of their ears and maybe off of their head, or maybe they fry an egg on their head because they're so hot, stuff like that. You'll notice that there are certain physiological changes that happen in you, physical changes that happen inside you when you're feeling a certain emotion. You might notice that your throat starts to get a little frog in your throat, a little clogged when you're feeling a big sad feeling that you feel like you need to speak up, but maybe you can't. You might notice when you're angry, your body temperature starts to rise. You start to feel tension in your shoulders. You might feel like the pressure is building. Like you'll see where the steam comes out their ears, they sound like a tea kettle going off because the pressure of the steam inside the boiling water has pushed so much that the steam is pushing out and making a whistling sound, right? So it might be that you're experiencing so much pressure inside because of the emotions that you're feeling that it almost feels like you're going to physically explode from the things that you're feeling. All of that, okay? The sadness, the despair being like just being in a state of depression, like nothing's ever going to work out, just where you feel like you just want to crumple is the best way I can describe it. You feel like you want to crumple. You just want to lay down and maybe not get up for a long time, or maybe ever for some people. That despair can be so deep like that. The thing is, you can feel it in your body. So as we're grabbing, right? As we're grabbing those emotions, maybe we grab the tension in our shoulders, right? Maybe we grab the frog in our throat. Maybe we grab whatever it is you're feeling. Maybe you're feeling pressure in your head and you just feel like you need to just grab that energy out and just pack it tight into a ball in your hands. Whatever it is, whatever you're feeling, the noticing practice is beginning to feel where the emotion is stored in your body. Where do you feel it within your body? Where is the sensation inside your body? That can give you a warning sign that you're starting to build up to where you could blow up. That could be the warning sign of, now I'm starting to notice I'm getting angry. I'm starting to notice the sensations in my body that tells me that I'm getting angry. This is your opportunity to leave the situation if necessary, to get some space from the situation if necessary before it pushes you to the point of blowing up. Again, this is noticing what's happening inside your mind, noticing what's happening inside your body. As you begin to notice, you can begin to take proactive measures. Again, things like the breath work, the hot chocolate breath, the candle, the going up and down the mountain, the grabbing the emotions and packing them and throwing them, all of these different things. I want to give another suggestion. In somatic work, we talk about moving the body, moving the emotions through the body, not just grabbing them and throwing them away, but moving them through our system. We can do things like shaking up and down with the shoulders, shrugging the shoulders. Okay? We can do it by swaying and swaying back and forth from right to left. Just sway the shoulders or sway the hips or sway the body. We can do it through giving ourselves a hug. Okay? One arm over the shoulder, one arm under the armpit, and hug under the armpit and give yourself a hug and maybe rock and sway with that emotion and give yourself that sensation of a hug. That's another way. I've used that. I have absolutely used that when I have spiraled out and I felt my emotions getting too big. I have absolutely stood where I didn't know what to do. I felt like I just wanted to collapse. I was already at the edge of tears. Hand on the shoulder, hand under the armpit, give a hug. Okay, we can do things like pillow slams. Grab a pillow and slam it down on the ground as a way to release some anger. If I have a punching bag, a heavy bag hanging from the ceiling in my workout room, I have absolutely put on boxing gloves and beat the ever-living tar out of a punching bag. Particularly, that one's useful when I'm angry with my partner. And it's not necessarily my partner that I'm angry with, it's just the emotions that I'm experiencing, the triggers that I'm experiencing, and I need to let go. So I will, if I need to let go of my anger, I will put on boxing gloves and beat the tar out of a punching bag. Sometimes imagining that it is my partner's face. But it is what I need to do to let go of the anger so I'm not holding on to that. Sometimes you just need a physical expression of the emotion, and just like But a punching bag is a better thing. Punching a pillow, punching a bed, something soft that's not going to hurt you. Punching a wall. I knew some gentlemen when I was young who would come into school with bloodied knuckles, and I'd ask, what the heck happened? Oh, I was really angry, so I punched a wall a few times. Now you're causing physical harm to yourself. Yes, you are releasing your anger in an explosion, and that can be useful, but punching a wall is going to ruin your hands or the wall, depending on what you're punching. You're going to cause physical damage, and that's not something you want. You want to be able to move through the emotions without that, okay? So, as we delve into our darker aspects, you're going to get more content from me about delving into the darkness. If you want to attend my meditation class, again, this is my reading. These episodes are timeless, but if you're catching it when it's going out live, on Monday, December 9th, I am hosting a meditation class. I will put the link in my Linktree in the description. You can check that out. If you are in the Windsor, Tecumseh, Essex County, Ontario, Canada area, and you are interested in attending the class, you can find the information to register in the Linktree and register for my class. It is $30 a person. Our focus on our next class is going to be delving into the darkness. So that's delving into your anger, going into your despair, going into these feelings, not just shoving them down and pushing them away, but actually processing through the feelings. That's something we're going to be focusing on, using movement to do that, using breath work, using visual imagery, guided meditation, all of these things to tap into our deepest, darkest aspects of self. They're not a bad thing, okay? I want to let you know that. Many times in this spiritual journey, especially people who are all about the love and light, they forget that the darkness is part of us. If we don't delve into the dark, how do we know what light is? If light is all you ever see and you never see darkness, how do you know that it's light? Because it's just the everyday status quo, right? How do you even know that it's light? In order for you to understand light, you need to have the contrast of dark. In order for us to understand the lightest aspects of ourselves, we have to delve into the darker aspects of ourselves. Love and light doesn't work. Sometimes you got to be a little bit of love and light and a little bit of fuck you. And that's necessary. We need to delve into our deepest, darkest sides. They are part of us. Our feelings are part of us. So I don't want you to think that this breath work and these breathing techniques and the grabbing the feeling and throwing it away, that this is what you should do immediately when you have a feeling. It is important to sit with your feeling. Ooh, getting chills. It's important to sit with your feeling, okay? To recognize what it is it's trying to tell you. Often our anger is letting us know where a boundary has been crossed, okay? Where somebody has done something that is against our morals. Our sadness can be where we just feel like we've lost an opportunity or we've missed out on something, okay? These are not bad things. Sadness, despair, anger, resentment, these are not inherently negative things. They are letting us know information about what our soul is feeling, what we're actually experiencing. It doesn't need to be pushed away and pretended that it's not there. It needs to be heard. It needs to be acknowledged. Those are parts of us who have been triggered and they need to be heard out. Wouldn't it have been great if your parents, your partner, your friends, your coworkers, your boss, whoever it is that you're having conflict with, actually listened to you, actually heard when you said, this makes me feel this way because, or I don't want to do it this way, or I think, whatever it is you're trying to say, do, feel, express, if you had been heard, if you had been listened to, instead of dismissed, shut down, ignored, avoided, what do those parts need to say? If you give them the opportunity to speak, let your anger tell you what it is it's angry about, why. Again, it's not about expressing your anger at another person. Yes, please speak your truth, okay? I'm not saying don't express yourself. But when you're blaming someone else for the emotion that you're feeling, I want you to look into it and ask, what is it that's causing me to feel this way? What has been touched? What has been triggered? What has been activated? What is it that I'm feeling? Yes, maybe my partner said something dismissive and rude when I was trying to share with them, and that made me feel some kind of way. Okay, I'll give an example from my life. When I'm excited about something and I go to my partner to share it, and my partner is not in a space to hear me, for whatever's going on with him. He's not in a space to hear me. If he rejects me and shuts me down, yeah, okay, nobody cares, I'm busy. What that causes in me, what I feel when that happens is as if I'm not important. As if what I have to say is so unimportant, so silly, so stupid, that the other person has decided I am not unimportant, or that I am not important, that I am unimportant, that I am not worthy of their time and attention. And that touches on a wound from my childhood when I was often dismissed and disregarded and not heard, seen, or validated. So when my partner does something that triggers that, I feel those sensations again. I feel unwanted, unheard, not valued, not appreciated, not worthy. But those are not things that my partner's doing to me. Those are pains and wounds that are already inside of me, and my partner just triggers those pains and wounds in me. He didn't put them there. They were already there. So then the question is, when those wounds are activated and I feel those sensations of I'm not important, I'm not worthy, I'm not valuable, the things I have to say aren't interesting, the other person doesn't care about me, those feelings, because that's the story that goes in my head. Okay, Brené Brown talks about the story that we tell ourselves, when we are triggered, the story we repeat that may or may not even be true. More often than not, it is not true. It's just the story we circulate in our head. My partner doesn't care about me. I'm not important to my partner. The things I have to say isn't important to my partner. They would rather do other things than give their attention to me. They don't love me. Okay, that's the story that I tell myself in my head. Are those things true? No, in that moment, my partner just might not be able to witness me. Might not be able to experience whatever it is I'm experiencing alongside me. He's going through his own thing, and that's okay. When those things come up, it's my responsibility to say, okay, so what's that triggering in me? What am I feeling? What am I experiencing? Okay, so I'm feeling anger. I'm feeling anger because I feel dismissed. I'm feeling anger because just being dismissed makes me feel like I am not important, that I am not worthy, that I am not valuable, that I am not loved. And then it's time to sit with that and then say, okay, so that's what I'm feeling. Is that true? Does my partner value me? Does my partner consider me worthy? Am I worthy? Right? When I'm in a better space, I can say, yeah, of course I'm worthy. But in that moment, when I'm feeling that, I feel unworthy. So that needs me to look into the small little girl inside of me who feels unworthy when the adults didn't give her the attention and say, okay, are you unworthy? No. Of course you're worthy. Of course you were always worthy. You were worthy then, you're worthy now. You always were. It simply comes down to the wounding that you have and the emotions you are experiencing. So when you are having that feeling, when these big feelings come up, okay, you can do things like doing the breath work. You can do things like the somatic movement. You can do things like the hug. You can do butterfly taps, or another great one. Hands across the shoulder in a butterfly, tap, 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 right? Just as a way to reconnect yourself to your physical vessel, that you are not caught up in here, but instead you're back into the physical body. Okay, that's why we do these things. So I just wanted to share some of that stuff with you because it's just, again, I'm seeing it come around. It's floating around in my periphery. That tells me that it's something that's going on in the collective, that people need to hear these things. Ooh, chills. People need to hear these things. It needs to come out. So I wanted to share it. So I hope that this gave you some information, that when you have these big feelings come up, that you have some tools that you can try to use. Okay. Mindfulness isn't just about the breath work, though we've talked about breath work, we've talked about some movement stuff. Taking a walk is beneficial as well. Walking and feeling the sensation of the ground meeting your foot as your heel touches the ground, rolls through to the middle of your foot, rolls through to the toe at the end of the foot before your foot lifts up because the next foot's come down and the weight's gone to the next foot. Being aware of the footfalls, letting go of whatever's going in your mind and paying attention to the sensation of your feet on the ground. That is a form of mindfulness meditation as well. There are many, many, many different forms. If you are looking for other things, again, I want to recommend this book, Breathe Like a Bear, by Kira Wiley. Fantastic book. It's not just for kids. It's got lots of beautiful options and things in there to help you move through the feelings that you're experiencing, to be more mindful, to be more present in your physical body, and to be more present in your day-to-day space and not just caught up in your head and your feelings. Okay. So I wanted to share that. Go ahead and feel free to delve into your darkness. It's not a bad thing. Okay. You'll always come back out, even if you sit there for a little while. Just don't live there. Okay. It's important for us to experience our emotions. Just don't live there. You want to live in my brain, I keep hearing homunculus, homeostasis. Sorry, my brain is pulling up random neurology references. The homunculus, I believe, is the version of us that's just neutral. I don't know. I'd have to go back to my neurology textbooks to remember all these phrases that I learned. But we want to be in our neutral zone. We want to be in homeostasis, is the middle ground, when we're not activated one way or another, when we're just in balance. Homeostasis, that's what we want. So the purpose of these breathing exercises, the somatic work, is to help you get back to homeostasis. Okay. So I hope that this was beneficial for you. I recognize it was long-winded. I'm sorry about that. I hope that this gave you the knowledge you needed and understanding that you needed to help you move through some of these feelings when they come up for you. And until next time, keep letting go of those things that are holding you back from being your best, your greatest, your most authentic you. Love and light. Bye.